Welcome back to Primitive Organic Gardening Guitar today. Figured I'd come out here and harvest some cucumbers before it gets too hot and make some pickles. I'm about to show you all my cucumbers here in a second. I always like to start with flowers, probably because I've never really grown them before and it's really pretty. I wish I knew what this particular variety of zinnia was called, because I don't know, I like this one for some reason. Anybody knows the name of this variety, please comment. But anyway, the flowers are probably about done for the year. They can't really handle the temperature extremes at this point, and I don't bother to come out here and water these things. And I think we are gonna get some rain later this week, but it's been probably 10 good days since it rained. But still coming out here every night and getting bell peppers for dinner. This is my first year actually having quite a bit of success with bell peppers, but kind of like the cucumbers, I got to harvest them when they're small before wildlife gets to them. With the bell peppers, it seems like the birds get them pretty quickly, and with the cucumbers, it's the caterpillars. So let's go look at the cucumbers real quick. Still got to finish planting some of the, I think these are pimento peppers, so I can make some pimento cheese. But let's go look at our cucumbers. So cucumbers are all planted in the same soil mix. It's mostly compost that was left over from a potato crop this spring. I amended it with a little bit of bone meal and threw a little bit of potting mix on top. But it's interesting to see the differences in the cucumbers because some of them get more shade than others. It seems like the ones that are in more shade are actually doing better. The plants look much healthier, but the ones in the shade haven't really started producing as much fruit yet. You see the ones here in the shade are much larger plants, bigger leaves, and the leaves are much darker color, whereas the cucumbers that are more in full sun have a little bit more of a chlorotic yellowing to them. They're also not as big, but they've been producing more fruit. So I came out yesterday and threw a little bit of sodium nitrate, which is an organic nitrogen, fast-acting, water-soluble nitrogen on these. So they'll be greening up pretty soon. I just saw a cool assassin bug over there. I wish the assassin bugs would do something about the caterpillar problem. I came out here this morning and picked maybe like 7 or 8 cucumbers, and 3 of them had caterpillars in them. Here you can see some damage from the caterpillars. Some people accidentally refer to this as pickle worm. It's not a worm, it's a caterpillar. But they're problematic because they don't just like eat leaves like most caterpillars do. They actually burrow into the stems of the plants, and you can see this fruit was destroyed before it was able to form a cucumber. If you're wealthy, you can come out here with BT and, you know, spray BT on your plants all the time and you won't have this problem. But like I said, oh man, look at this one. So this is a great example. You can see all that gooey, sugary crap there. I don't know if we're actually gonna find a little caterpillar inside of here or not. Sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't. But normally I rely on things like wasps and birds to take care of my caterpillar problems. Like I said, because these guys tend to actually burrow into the plants, I guess that makes it harder for predators and things to find them. But the plants will tell you, you know, you'll come out and you'll see one little vine that's just completely wilted and the rest of the plant isn't wilted. And that's a sign that something has burrowed into that vine, usually a caterpillar. I tend to just aggressively prune them off. You know, if I see a vine that's dead, I'll not only prune that vine, but prune most of the vine around it. You can also feel the small fruits. Like this one feels squishy, so it's possible there's a caterpillar in here. I really want to find one to show y'all. I bet you we're gonna find one in here. It's so gross. But like I said, I don't really have the money to come out here with BT all the time. It's just, here we go. So you can see this little, so there's the caterpillar. He's eating my cucumbers. Very unfortunate. Just gonna kind of stuff that into the soil there and cover it. Sometimes I throw them in like a bucket of hot water, but yeah, there's not much I can do about it other than just kind of prune. But everything's got to eat, I suppose. Yeah, if you're growing cucumbers, just scout them regularly. I've also heard people say that sometimes you can plant squash nearby and it's a trap crop because apparently they're more attracted to squash than they are cucumbers. I don't know if that's true or not. And sometimes, you know, planting an extra squash crop nearby might just attract more of the moths. Here's some damage on the leaf there. So yeah, if you start to see this type of damage, I would just aggressively prune or spray BT if you can afford it. But yeah, personally I don't really think it's worth spraying BT for a crop like cucumbers. You know, there's not a whole lot of calories in cucumbers anyway, so you're spending money on BT to produce something that's not really feeding you. Cucumbers are fun, they're tasty, and I like pickles with a sandwich, but it's not really putting calories on the table. Look at all these sweet potato vines all over the fence. These are the ones I need to come out here and take slips from. I mean, now I got sweet potatoes running well into my neighbor's yard. Probably doesn't do me any good to have sweet potato vines on a fence. You know, they're not going to produce aerial tubers, so I need to clip those vines, root them, and then plant them in good soil somewhere. Again, we kind of talked about this pattern of volunteer crops often doing better than planted crops. I didn't plant any sweet potatoes out here. This was one sweet potato that was in a compost pile 2 years ago, and it might quite possibly be my most successful crop of this year, which is kind of funny. There's just sweet potato vines everywhere. These are cucumbers again, but I'm gonna walk back in the yard here because I just saw the door is open. I'm gonna have a house full of flies. Got one collard green that's still hanging on in the heat here. Yesterday it was 109 degrees with the heat index. I don't think today is going to be quite as miserable, but it's just been kind of a terrible week in terms of heat and drought. These are the cucumbers that I managed to pick that don't have caterpillars in them. I'm going to go inside and throw those in the mason jar with some, I usually do a mixture of white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, a little bit of salt, and then dill and leeks. I always plant dill and leeks in with the cucumbers. Oh look, it's a little farm dog. I guess while we're up here closing the door before all the flies get in, I can show you all my little chocolate habanero plant. I've grown chocolate hobs before, and I try to bring them in the winter because they're very, very cold sensitive. Last year I think most of mine died, but this sprouted up from a random seed. It's got its first little fruit on there. They start out green and they turn a really cool dark burgundy, almost chocolate color toward the end of their life. But yeah, we'll do just a little quick garden tour. I've replanted corn 5 times now this year. I'm still not sure what's digging it all up. It seems to happen at night. It's probably like mice or something because I've seen a cat in the garden a couple times late at night, which is great. I'd love to have a cat out here more often. But when I came out the other night, came out with the air rifle, I was going to see if I could shoot whatever was eating the corn, and the cat just freaked out and ran away, and I haven't seen it since. It was really afraid of me. But yeah, these are the types of holes I see where I plant corn. I actually didn't plant corn in this pot, but this is the exact same type of damage. So if anybody recognizes this, maybe that's a squirrel, maybe that's a rodent. But like I said, I've planted corn 5 times now, and it's devastating to just have it, you know, every seed pulled up before they germinate, or if they do germinate, then a lot of times the corn gets ripped out of the ground or chopped at the base before the seedling gets about a foot tall. I think once they make it to about a foot tall, then they're less susceptible to things. Tangerines look like they're doing pretty good. I need to make a video of my actual fruit orchard sometime. I always make videos of my annual gardens here, but I rarely ever make videos of my fruit orchard, which is about a mile away. There's a cool little lettuce that's still hanging on in the middle of the summer. Kind of surprising there. A lot of people have told me that, you know, if my corn keeps getting eaten by things, I should start using treated corn seed. I really don't want to come out with treated corn seed and start putting poison in the garden. But, you know, most big corn farmers I know never have a problem with things digging up the seeds, but they all use treated seed. I've also been told I can put out, you know, poison for the rodents or whatever, but I don't want to start doing that, because then if, you know, the rodents get eaten by other wildlife, it could potentially poison them. And especially with all the neighborhood cats around here, if I start putting out rat poison, I don't want to accidentally kill somebody's cat because they ate one of my poisoned rats. But there's a lot of rat problems and mice problems in general in this type of place, because we're a swamp, and it's also a, you know, pretty poor rural area, so we just have a lot of, you know, issues with stuff like that. But look at all these volunteer, I think these are probably cherry tomatoes. Look much nicer than the tomatoes I planted. Got quite a few bell peppers in here, some more pretty flowers. So yeah, I didn't put out any poison for the rats that are eating the corn. Whoa! I have never seen a lizard eat a butterfly before. This should totally be a separate video. That is really fascinating. I got a large amphibian reptile population back here now. We actually saw an alligator in the front yard the other day, but that's not uncommon at all around here. That is a small little lizard with a gigantic butterfly in its mouth. Good for you, little lizard, I guess. I hope that was a butterfly that was gonna lay eggs and make caterpillars that were gonna eat my crops. That is too big of a meal for you, bud. How in the world are you gonna eat that? I'm just gonna bite off the juicy head and suck the guts out. I can't imagine you're gonna eat those wings. I don't want to disturb you, but this is kind of cool to watch. See all kinds of interesting things back here. Like I said, I no longer really have a garden. I just have like a jungle that happens to produce food. That's one of the stranger things I've seen, though, I think. Alright, I've bothered you enough. Alright, where were we? Oh yeah. So yeah, I didn't put out poison, but I did break a bunch of glass jars. Or rather used glass jars that were already broken and put glass out here. And it looks like it made absolutely no difference. Whatever's digging up the corn just walked right around the glass and still managed to dig up all the corn. So I don't think I'm gonna plant corn for the 6th time, because now I've spent like $12 on corn seed at this point and have no corn. And it looks like nothing I can do is gonna make a difference. So I'll probably just plant something else here. Whatever's digging up this corn is probably the same thing that stripped this kale. Is that a rodent? Is that a rabbit? What is that? Does anybody know what's doing this? It's digging up corn seeds and it's stripping kale plants of their leaves, but not eating the main rib stems because it's picky. Picky eater. I eat the main ribs. How come the wildlife can't? Anyway, this is very upsetting. Please help me if you have any tips. Ooh, the lemons are starting to turn yellow. Cool. Nice little bell pepper here, companion planted with some leeks. Those are some fine looking leeks, aren't they? Oh, there's another butterfly. Is this one gonna get eaten by a lizard too? Alright, what else we got going on? I haven't seen a whole lot of fruits on this tropical tree in like a week or two, but now it's producing again. The birds get 90% of these, especially the ones that are kind of way up here. These are a tricky plant to harvest in my opinion, because the fruits are poisonous until they're completely ripe. So you can't come out here and pick them green, or even pick them when they're yellowy orange. You gotta wait until they're dark orange, because otherwise they're not safe to eat. They're delicious once they're fully ripe though, but the birds tend to eat them before they get fully ripe. Whatever, I guess it's probably some type of solanine or some other type of solanaceous alkaloid that gives them an intensely bitter taste that's somewhat toxic to mammals. It must not be toxic to birds, because I see the birds come out here and rip these things off before they're fully ripe. That's a risk I'm not going to take, but oh, something's been digging in my tangerine tree. I've got to figure out what's going on out here. Tangerine tree, it doesn't seem like it's been eaten, but it's definitely been dug. Somebody told me that maybe it's like squirrels coming out here and trying to bury things. There's a dead cockroach down there. Yeah, it's funny. The bigger a garden gets, the more wildlife it attracts for sure. Told you I saw a deer not too long ago, a few blocks from here. Wouldn't be surprised if that's what took down all the soybeans. I don't know if I've shown y'all the soybean devastation. Let's see if I can get over there. Tripping over asparagus here, more sunchokes, some random elephant ears that came out of a compost pile. So yeah, this was like a huge soybean patch, and look at that, y'all. Every plant just completely eaten from the top down. That's not a rat, that's not a squirrel, that is a large mammal that did that. I don't even think a rabbit could have done that, because some of these plants were 2-3 feet tall, and they're all chewed from the top down, not the bottom up. But anyway, I better get out of here before I get some nasty parsnip burn. Sometimes I come out here, and I usually don't wear a shirt. I have to wear long pants because the mosquitoes are so bad, but I tend to like accidentally bump into parsnips, and then I get these nasty rashes all over my feet and my arms. Parsnip contains some phytophototoxic oils that cause phytophotodermatitis, so you got to be real careful if you touch them and then you're out in the sun. And I'm always out in the sun, especially with the whole crazy bat virus stuff going on now. I try to get at least 30 or 40 minutes of direct sun exposure every day, but that would be parsnip rash there. It's extremely painful. I'm lucky that it's just cultivated parsnip rash, because you get into wild parsnip, you can actually end up with serious burns, like skin peeling off type of stuff. I just don't see myself bothering to put on shoes though, so it's probably going to be a regular thing. And I don't know, man. I like parsnips, and I can't imagine not planting them anymore. What are you doing? What are you doing, silly? Get out of my pimentos. Please don't damage the pimento plant. Baby, come on. Hey, don't do that, okay? Hey, 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 hey. Hey, you can't get up there, okay? You're gonna damage the plants. Don't growl at Dad. You're a silly little farm dog. This is some new stuff, I guess. Eggplant over here wasn't here last video. These 2 pimiento pepper plants weren't here. This is a sunchoke that got dug up by a squirrel or a rat or a rabbit out of the sunchoke patch, and I just replanted the tuber in a pot. Another pimiento. Some more baby citrus trees. Random volunteer squash. Nice little bell pepper plant there. Kind of getting out-competed by some duckweed around it, but... Oh, a random sweet potato vine I didn't plant. I don't know how this got here, because the compost pile is on the other side of the garden, but whatever. That's the other part about having a food forest instead of a garden. You gotta make sure your plant ID is where it needs to be, because when you're not necessarily planting things, you're just out foraging. You need to know what everything is. Oh, some assassin bugs. So romantic, y'all. On the sunchokes. Looks like sunchokes are going to be a staple feature for the next, I don't know, few decades. They're just everywhere now. I had 1 or 2 little sunchoke patches, and I didn't harvest them last year because I kept waiting for frost. You know, you're supposed to wait till frost, that way the tubers are good and sweet. And we didn't get a frost until, I don't know, like late December. And then I just sort of forgot to harvest them. And so there were massive amounts of sunchoke tubers. And then I guess they got spread around the garden by wildlife. Now they're everywhere. These beans are just really thick now. I haven't seen pods out here in a while, but again, with temperatures being 110 every day, there's not going to be pods on these for a long time. But if these plants manage to stay alive until fall, they're going to be loaded. Yeah, what haven't we seen yet? I got to clean this up. This has all got infested with dollarweed. I know dollarweed's edible, but it's just not cool. And there's some chamber bitter in there I need to get rid of. This is chamber bitter. It's not a hard weed to pull, but it does just tend to spread itself really rapidly. The dollarweed is actually very hard to pull. The dollarweed reproduces with these thick underground rhizomes you can't see, and then they just pop up everywhere. Really likes wet conditions. I try to keep things drier, but it's hard because I don't have time to stand out here in the 100-degree temperatures and water things by hand, so I tend to run sprinklers a good bit, and running sprinklers ends up, you know, creating wet patches where dollarweed just thrives. But got some okra I need to pick. My sunflower's almost going to seed now. But yeah, there's quite a bit of okra back here. I think I'm probably gonna have some okra and peanut gumbo today for dinner. Might as well pick these while I'm back here now. It doesn't make sense to film these videos, get covered in mosquito bites, go inside, upload the video, then come back outside to harvest the stuff. So I'm just gonna start harvesting while I'm filming. Oh, I dropped an okra pod. But yeah, I'm probably gonna do like a peanut okra stew gumbo for dinner today. This pod got a little bit woody. That's the thing about okra, you gotta pick it like every day. There's some varieties where the pods do stay a little bit more tender, even at larger sizes. Now the cool thing about okra, in my opinion, is that wildlife don't like it for some reason. There's some nice burgundy okra pods there, and a couple green ones. There's some more okra on the other side of the garden. I actually haven't planted okra yet this year because we had a pretty cool spring, and then I just got busy doing other stuff. This is all volunteer okra from seed from last year, but I'm fine with that. You know, the volunteer stuff tastes just as good as the stuff you plant. So why don't we go over and get some, all the Mexican oregano went to flower. It's very pretty, but I kind of wish it didn't go to flower because then it's very difficult to come out and harvest it. You just have a bunch of flower heads and the leaves kind of start to, I don't know, they kind of lose their flavor. Oh look, more sunchokes, what a surprise. Can't wait to have some pickled sunchokes later this year. Let's see, I think we already looked over here because we looked at some of this corn that got ripped up. And we looked at some of these flowers. We looked at that lizard eating a butterfly. What haven't we seen yet? Hey, farm dog. You gonna guard the okra? You gonna guard the okra? Don't eat it, okay? Don't eat the okra, just guard it. I think I showed y'all this a couple weeks ago, but unfortunately this little citrus lemon tree is getting hit hard by leaf miner now. That's citrus leaf miner. They don't spread diseases to my knowledge. Please comment if they do. This is a Meyer lemon, but it's just amazing how this tiny little potted plant is loaded with lemons. I was not expecting that. Wow, this parsnip rash is killing me. It's so itchy. Oh look, chicory flowering. Love those blue flowers. It's a nice contrast to all the other things in the garden. Here's some parsnip in flower. So yeah, try not to touch these leaves. Don't touch them. And if you do touch them, go inside and scrub with detergent and cold water. Not regular soap, not hot water. Detergent and cold water. Just like if you get poison ivy or any other poisonous plant oils on your skin, scrub them with detergent and cold water very quickly. This corn is still hanging on despite whatever's trying to dig in here. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about this, y'all. Please give me some suggestions if you can. Oh look, Malabar spinach trying to destroy this corn plant. It's not enough that the corn has to worry about getting eaten by wildlife. Now it has to worry about getting destroyed by its other fellow plants. This was not like this yesterday. This Malabar spinach tried to assassinate this corn overnight. Luckily I caught it though. Now it's stuck in this pot. Malabar spinach is cool. It doesn't taste like anything, unfortunately. Although I've heard people say it kind of tastes like soap. But it's just very versatile because it's like rice, but it's a vegetable form of rice. It has no taste. Whatever you season it with, that's what it'll taste like. So you can take Malabar and, you know, saute it with garlic and lemon juice, and it's absolutely delicious. But it has a lot of texture. It doesn't have a lot of taste. It's kind of like biting into a succulent leaf. Here's whatever dug up every single corn seed again. Every single corn seed again. Please help me, y'all. Save my corn. All this was corn. Now it's going to be Malabar spinach and sweet potatoes, apparently. There's like one corn plant left over here that didn't get eaten. Here's a prime example of something ripping the corn plant up and not actually eating it. And here's another example of where the glass was completely ineffective. I put glass out here and something still came and dug up every single one of the corn seeds. So I don't know what to do. More parsnips. See, this is how I get the parsnip burn. I accidentally like step on them and trip over them. Another little ochre there. This is a comfrey plant. I haven't been over to this side of the garden in a couple weeks. Looks like there's some zinnias popping up in the spearmint. This is the other side of the soybeans where we were looking at the deer that destroyed the soybeans. Maybe I'll try to get over there and get a little bit closer view for y'all. Those are all the soybeans and they're completely destroyed. There's some huge basil plants back there going to flower, some more bell peppers, a lot of beans. These pole beans are a variety called Seychelles. Whoa! Whoops, did not mean to step on all those wild tomatoes. Look at this! I thought we were done with cucumbers for the day. So the other cucumbers we were harvesting earlier are pickling types. This is actually more of a salad cucumber, but that is gigantic. That'll make an entire jar of pickles by itself. Now I'm wondering if there's more back here. But let's see if I can get over there. I need to figure out how to clean up this blackberry patch at some point. Some more zinnias volunteering. How did I get over here? Okay, let's see if I can get back. More parsnips. Don't step on them. Don't touch them. Okay, so here's some more cucumbers. I think these are the salad ones, like the one I just picked. The challenge is, can we actually find some cucumbers in here? They're also intercropped with pole beans, and so it's just a big mess of vines. I don't immediately see any, but again, sometimes it's a surprise. This sweet potato looks like it's doing pretty good. It's amazing that the caterpillars didn't get this one. It got this big and never got hit by caterpillars. Does anyone know if there are varieties of cucumber that are resistant to caterpillars, like pickleworm? Because if there are some, I would like to grow those. I don't really see any cucumbers in here, do y'all? See some cucumber flowers. I don't actually see any cucumbers. But up. Here's one I missed, way down here. Going to seed and probably getting eaten by everything, including bacteria. It's got this weird little rot spot at the bottom. This might have possibly already gone to seed. I might have cucumber seed out of that for next year. Alright, I think I want to get out of here before I get eaten by any more mosquitoes. So this is not a parsnip in full flower. This is actually a carrot. Flower heads look fairly similar, but parsnip flower heads are yellow. Carrot flower heads tend to be more white. Yeah, so the chores for today, in addition to 2 hours of watering, I need to replant this with something other than corn. I need to make pickles. I need to finish planting pimiento peppers. Look at my frogs. I think I made a video the other night of them making noises, but anyway. Yeah, so I think this video is probably over. I've gotten 10,000 mosquito bites, and I think I've shown y'all most everything that's worth seeing. We can go look at the front yard a different day. Oh, look at the papaya trees, though. I mean, this one over here is probably, I don't know, I'm almost 6 feet tall, and this thing's easily twice my height. That is quite the papaya tree. And this thing is in a tiny little 5-gallon fabric pot, and it's a 15-foot tall tree. I really wish I had planted that in a bigger pot. I feel like such a terrible gardener. But it was a gift. I think it was actually hot. And it just showed up in my house, in my yard. Somebody dropped them off with a pickup truck. And I had no pots at the time because it was still early in the season when I had potatoes. I swear they came up from Florida and somebody just like threw these things in a truck and drove them up from Florida. They don't grow in South Carolina. I know South Carolina, the lower portion's rapidly turning into Florida climate-wise, but we don't have a papaya industry here, so to just see random trees show up on a truck bed was really weird. And I didn't want to say no because they were free, so look at all that beautiful blue chicory. By the way, you can take chicory roots and dry them and grind them and use them as a coffee substitute in places where coffee doesn't grow. So maybe I'll do that at some point this year. This chicory just volunteered out of a broken 5-gallon bucket. But yeah, please give me some advice about how to protect my corn from whatever is doing this. And if you have any advice about cucumber varieties that are resistant to caterpillars, please tell me. Oh look, some more flowers back there with the asparagus, more sweet potatoes. Oh, that's the other chore I gotta do today, is make a bunch of sweet potato slips and root them. But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in to Primitive Organic Gardening Guitar today, and maybe I'll bother to make a guitar video later today too. Oh no! One of my lemons! Oh, it looks like it fell off and rotted. Lame. Alright. Hope these tangerines don't start to fall off. Is that a reaction to the leaf miner? Ah, mosquitoes. Alright, time to go inside. Did you guard the okra, farm dog? Did you guard the okra? Oh, look at all these caterpillars coming out now. See, I told y'all sometimes I throw the infested cukes into some hot water. You can see those nasty little caterpillars. Look at those. Ugh. Disgusting. There's like 4 or 5 of them coming out of that one little cucumber. But, you know, if we were in a state of societal collapse, which is rapidly approaching, not yet here, I would probably go ahead and eat these. Does anybody know if it's dangerous to eat caterpillars and cucumbers? Is it just extra protein like a grub, or is there something about pickleworm caterpillars that are toxic? Does anyone know? Can you eat these things? Am I just being, you know, squeamish, not wanting to eat these cucumbers? Are they perfectly safe to eat? Can you eat the caterpillars? Please let me know in the comments if you know. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in today, and hope y'all are having a good summer. Hopefully it's not 110 degrees in your garden. Say bye. Say bye.